Creating a layer. We have previously composed a scene by creating several layers. These layers allow us to understand the functions and interactions that will be applied to the different sets of our model. To begin, let's create a layer containing the glazing of our vehicle. Create a layer and add a new filter to it. If we know the name of the set, we can add it directly to the filter. We can check its content by clicking on the control indicator. We rename this layer and place it at the top of the list, just below the layer containing the entire model, since layers are read from top to bottom. The layer that contains the complete original model is called L&G, which is the name of the vehicle. Visibility. In this example, part of the bodywork is originally purple. Let's now apply a color to the layer containing the glazing, glass. Set the L&G layer, which contains the entire model, to the Does Not Affect Visibility state in order to understand how layers interact. When the glass layer is visible, only the glazing parts are visible, because the L&G layer is set to Does Not Affect Visibility. When the L&G layer is visible, we obtain a combined view of both layers. When the glass layer is hidden, its parts are removed from the view. We therefore see the content of the L&G layer without the glass glazing. When the glass layer is set to Does Not Affect Visibility, its content is present and the color attribute is active, without preventing the rest of the model from being visible. This can be verified by deactivating the layer. The glazing returns to its original color, defined in the initial L&G layer. Another example. We set the wiring and embedded systems layers to the content is visible state. Both assemblies are therefore displayed at the same time. We added one embedded system part to the wiring filter because we want this part to appear in the visualization of the wiring layer, but in a different color, orange. Since this part is also included in the embedded systems layer, which is colored orange, we can adjust the visibility of this layer to obtain the desired view. When the embedded systems layer is hidden, all elements contained in this layer are invisible. When the embedded systems layer does not affect visibility, it applies the orange color attribute but does not display all the parts in its filter. Only the part shared with the upper layer remains visible. When the layer is visible, all of its content, as well as its orange color attribute, is visible. Layer options. The color tool allows you to apply a reference color to the parts contained in a layer. By default, the color is red. You can change it by clicking the brush icon to open the color editor. You can assign a color using a hex value or the color palette. The available colors are those defined in your settings. You can choose to apply transparency to a layer. Making the wiring transparent is not particularly useful here, but applying transparency to the layer containing the entire model, L&G, is more visually effective. The cut plane tool acts by default on the entire model. The Ignore Cut Planes option allows the cut plane not to be applied to this layer. If this set meets your needs, you can export the layer in a 3D format directly from its menu. The Export dialog opens, allowing you to export this set in the most common 3D formats. When exporting by layer, the export will include only the content of that layer. To export the complete model, you must use the 3D export tool described in the export tutorial. You can choose to temporarily or permanently deactivate a layer. Its content is no longer visible or active. You can duplicate a layer to use it as a working base or a variant by applying different attributes. You can also copy this layer and paste it into another model or another application in the suite, such as 3D Juump Kiwi. You can also delete the layer. Using a layer for transformations. Any transformation applied to a set of parts requires creating or selecting a layer beforehand. This means specifying which parts will be subject to movement or measurement. If you want to move the parts of the embedded systems, you must select the embedded systems layer so that transformations can be applied. This will be covered again in the Transformations chapter. Configuration comparison. In the Layer menu, there is an option to create a configuration comparison layer. When added, a dialog box displays the list of product configurations. Let's take configuration A, on which we are working, and compare it to configuration B. We can now view the updated elements from one version to another on the mockup. These include deleted elements, added elements, and elements in common. The display settings can be modified in the layer dialog box. Coloring by value. Value coloring allows you to quickly color the model based on an attribute present in the model. The helper will automatically retrieve all possible values for this attribute and assign a color to each value. For example, you can color by system, subsystem, or part number. Adding a cut plane lets you quickly visualize these sets. You can act on each set by clicking on the folder of this layer. The same modification functions as standard layers then become available. Group Actions, Layer menu. It is possible to work on several layers at once. You can select them all, or just some of them using the Shift or Control keys. From the menu, you can apply options to the selected layers.